do study the game. I do have a deep appreciation for it, and I try to, I try to educate the fans. I try to give publicity to players that might not get it normally. They might get big fat contracts saying that you're valuable and you're needed, but that doesn't always transfer into somebody sort of showing what some of these players do on Sundays that maybe isn't getting enough attention.
Oh, man, that's the thing I love is I see it, and I'm like, I can take that little bit of information. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That's and the credibility that goes along with seeing what you're talking about. That's great.
Players gravitate towards it. They watch it. They study it. They're a fan of it.
Yeah.
And so, I try to be on top of it. I try to do my homework. I announce games every Sunday. I'm around. I go to training camps. I go meet the new players. I was just taught, early on in my career when I was announcing games at Fox that you got to get to know the top 10 players in every team because that's the majority of the time you're going to spend your time talking about those guys. But I like to go a lot deeper than that because there's guys that, are on rosters that are contributing to these teams and nobody ever talks about them. So I try to be that voice.
Now, I know this player doesn't necessarily fit into that category to start, but I'm curious. It's the narrative on Jalen Hurts that he's been a turnover machine, and I feel like people ignore the second half of the season, maybe the last 3 quarters of the season, where he's taking care of the ball better than any quarterback.
Well, let's just be factual about this, all right? They had a Week 5 bye, and if you take out the Week 16 game against Washington, where he was concussed in the first quarter, he's 13-0 as a starter. He threw 1 interception.
That was against the Cowboys.
Against the Cowboys, yep. And he's fumbled once. He's had 2 turnovers, counting in the postseason, now 3 postseason games. He's turned it over twice in 13 games. Now, he's throwing it, on average, in those 13 wins, about 22 times a game. He's not putting the ball in harm's way. He did that against Green Bay in Week 1 in São Paulo, Brazil. He was excoriated for it. He did it against New Orleans. So he did it against Atlanta. So he has now figured out that Saquon's the MVP. We've got the best offensive line in football. Our defense has risen to the number 1 defense in football. I'm not going to, and in some of these games are 7-8 possession games. Yeah. I'm not going to give another team an extra at bat. I'll take a sack. I'll throw it away. I'll do what I need to do to make sure that we don't give them an extra at bat.
I know you didn't play the quarterback position,
yes.
But Kevin was giving us a stat earlier about late, interceptions, late turnovers, and I'm kind of, at what point do you think a quarterback realizes he threw an interception? Does he kind of know this is risky and I'm taking a shot here?
When they do this. when it's released, they're just
now I got to go try
cover
to
themselves up going on.
I feel like they know this is a risky one, but I'm going to chance it, and dadgummit, that was the wrong one.
Well, there's certain throws that catch any quarterback off guard. Mm-hmm. They just didn't see the defender. They're locked in and they're throwing a slant. They didn't see, the hook curl player, already bouncing out there and steps right in front of a throw. We see that every Sunday. You see some tip balls that get intercepted where you're giving your guy a chance. 50-50 ball, the ball gets tipped, somebody comes up. So we see that. There's certain throws that, against coverages that you want to make. Tampa 2 coverage, and you get your number 3 receiver down the seam, and you can fit it in. And okay, but for the most part, quarterbacks they see the interception. They see it when it's released. They know that either they didn't hit the right spot, the right shoulder, they left it, hanging on the outside to a defender, and they got to eat it.
Yeah, and the guys like Mahomes, they mitigate that risk so well.
Oh, my God, so well.
They get them in this position every year.
Well, the thing about Patrick, though, is he's not afraid to throw an interception.
No, he's not.
And so, the thing about Patrick is he plays the game with no fear. And so interceptions are going to happen.
Yeah.
When you play like that. The throw to, against Houston to Travis Kelce in the end zone where he's getting hit and he's falling forward and he's, just throwing it out there and he's hoping that, Travis is going to come get it.
But on the fourth quarter, on that final drive, he doesn't seem to take that risk. It seems like he's more willing to be like, all right, I got 4 more seconds.
Well, he's also excellent at keeping the ball.
Yeah.
And running for the first down.
Yeah.
And understanding where the sticks are to extend the play. So he really, not to get carried away, but he's like the ultimate Zen player.
Yeah.
Like he just knows the situation. And whether it's fourth quarter, whether it's 2 minute, whether it's fourth down. Like, he understands the gravity of the moment.
How are you feeling about the Chiefs' offensive line, maybe specifically interior? Because I know they're really working to, like, hey, let's make sure our left tackle's okay. How do you feel about that going into the game?
Well, I mean, they made the switch that they had to make.
Yeah.
They had to put, the left guard out there at left tackle, and he's played great. And they had to put Callie in. It was the best option. They were committing too many penalties at left tackle, whether it was a rookie or a Wanye, whoever was there. Too many penalties. And then they were giving up too many sacks. And so they were constantly playing from behind, and it stunted the offense. And so Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith are just an amazing duo. They literally are inseparable. They come to OL Masterminds every year, even though it's 2 weeks before the start of camp. They sit in the front row. They take notes. They lead the breakout sessions down there in Frisco.
Is that with Duke Manyweather?
That's with Duke.
Yeah, he's
Duke
fantastic.
Lane Johnson and the guys, they're there every year. They're just an amazing player. I mean, Trey's going to get paid this year. Creed's been paid. It hasn't changed who they are.
I'm fascinated by Chris Jones and his power and the way he uses that power and the way he gets an offensive lineman off kilter. Is there a comparison that you've seen over time that kind of has that same build and ability and speed and all this great combination that you can look at and go, he's kind of like that guy?
Well, he can play anywhere on the defensive line. He's like the piano man.
You got to love that.
He's going to go wherever he can win. Mm-hmm. So you see him lining up against a lot of tackles in this league. I don't think he's going to see Lane Johnson this week, but he might. You don't know. But he's got a great feel to grab arms, wrists. If you're trying to punch him, to grab it, lift the center of gravity up, and move his feet at the same time. He's got very light feet. Always going forward. He's got that power that you mentioned, but he can take your center of gravity away and really walk you back to the quarterback. But bigger than that, bigger than any move, is he really understands how to take a game over. The way Aaron Donald did, the way Von Miller has. There's not many that know how to do it and understand. Not that second down and 10 in the second quarter isn't important. It is. But 3rd and 8 in the fourth quarter of a final minutes. Like, that's more important.
Rise.
And he really understands, all right, I've gone up against most of the guys in the lineup today. Where can I win? Where can I get home? Where can I affect the quarterback the most? And he really has a feel for.
That's fascinating that he's taking those kind of notes throughout the game to go, all right, I'm going to win this one whenever it matters most. I like that a lot.
One specific thing in this game kind of feels irresistible force against an immovable object is the defense of Kansas City, obviously, against Saquon. Now, I mean, we haven't talked a lot about George Karlaftis or Nick Bolton, or there's so many different parts on this. What do you see as maybe the most effective player or two that can help slow down Saquon?
Well, I mean, they have a formula, and they showed it against Baltimore last year in the AFC Championship game. They're going to put their 3 big linebackers out there, Bolton, Chenal, along with Tranquil. They'll walk Justin Reed up. They'll play, some level of a 4-4 or 8-man box, and those guys are hard to run against. They played that largely against Baltimore in the first game of the season. Philadelphia is going to see that. But they also haven't seen an offense line like Philadelphia.
Yeah,
that's true.
They just haven't. Nobody, no knock to Kansas City or Detroit or any Buffalo. They don't have the power that Philadelphia has. And, there's very, like I said, like I nicknamed Mekhi Becton when he was rookie with the Jets, Highway 77 when he was with the Jets.
Yeah.
Like, he has unusual power. Mm-hmm. And I told Lane Johnson, I go, if he goes in there and he nails down this right guard spot, you played with Jason Peters. He has Jason Peters kind of power. And not many people do.
Yeah.
And he has that type of power where he can just move big bodies. And Landon Dickerson's been doing that since he was at Alabama. Mailata is the same. Yeah. So they just have bodies. You could put all those guys up there. They can move those people. And so there's the question of, can you stop Saquon from getting into the alley where he can use his breakaway speed?
Yeah, that's what he does.
And you're not sure they can.
I'm not sure that they can. I don't know. Because, look, they've run it 725 times in 20 games.
Yeah.
There's only the Raiders in 76 and the Bears in 85 are the only other 2 teams in NFL history to run it that many times. So, that's their formula.
It's not very often you get 2 rookie secondary players to play like DeJean
No
and
question.
Quinyon Mitchell. How much,
Man, no
I know
kidding.
you got to give Fangio tons of credit for the way he's using them also, but like those two guys, what have you seen when you've studied them?
So it's interesting. I was in Brazil this year for the opening game. I was working for the NFL Network, and Bradbury was supposed to start. He was the starting right corner, and Quinyon was just a rookie. And they had a role for him, but something happened to Bradbury. He wasn't 100%. They threw Quinyon out there. He played great that day. He started every game. Cooper DeJean, he didn't start the season, but they weren't really sure. Is he going to be a corner? Is he going to be a nickel? Is he going to be a safety? Coming out of Iowa. Well, once they put him into the nickel position, they couldn't get him out of there. Like his ability to stone guys off the line of scrimmage, they're unbelievable. I mean, whether it's the quick game that you saw last week from Washington, they could defeat any blockers out there. They play physically. They're excellent tacklers. They have a sixth sense when the ball's in the air. They don't commit a lot of penalties. Like they're just made for Vic's defense.
Yeah,
they're made for it.
Now, I know we got to wrap you up. Busy schedule, Synergen X and Low T Center. Yeah. I don't want to leave out what you're helping spread the word about.
So the Low T Center is there's 600 centers around the country. You can go get your testosterone scores measured. I'm not the same guy I was 25 years ago. I admit it.
Yeah,
I need a little help. You get your testosterone scores level. If it's low, they can bump it up. They have a number of products that can do it. They can deliver the products right to your doorstep. They can measure it, put it in a syringe, and tell you exactly what you need to do. They've really simplified the process. You can do it online now, so there's a big online push where you can get everything done, and it's done safely, and you can get back to being, the energy level, the activity level. Some of the injuries you might have will heal faster, and your soulmate out there that still wants a great life. Provide some of that.
You said online, synergenx.com and lowtcenter.com to make it happen. Man, thank you very much for jumping on with us today.
Thank you very much.